BMW right now is in the middle of a major overhaul when it comes to their designs, and I think it is 100% needed. Because if I think back, what was the golden era of BMW? It's very hard to argue that the golden era of BMW was from about 1998 to 2004, I would say, when it comes to the design, with the E39, the E53 X5, the E46 3 Series, and the E38 7 Series, the Z8, of course, Z3 as well, a pretty cool car, even though it was developed mostly here in the United States for the United States market. And now, if you look at the designs today, which we're going to do in Photoshop, that BMW has today, lately, the last 5 years, they have been in a mess when it comes to the design of their cars. And they know it as well. We're going to read an article here from Adrian von Hooydonk, which is BMW's the top boss of BMW design, and see what he has to say about moving forward and their current design language. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what they're going to do. They say that this Neue Klasse is going to be the new red line in BMW's design language, and I think it will be. It's just, or is it going to be as special as the old golden era cars? I'm not sure. Before we jump in Photoshop here, let's have a look at this article from Motor One. Let's see the interview, what he has to say about the design moving forward for BMW. BMW design is about to change forever. Interview with Adrian von Hooydonk, which is BMW's group design director. So he's the top of the food chain here when it comes to BMW design. The imminent launch of the BMW Neue Klasse EVs demand all this hyperbole slated for a 2025 arrival. The Neue Klasse cars have been teased by BMW's own corporate messaging and online spy shots for more than a year. The camouflage cars look tantalizing with angular, funky silhouettes and evocative backlit kidney grills. Now, the thing about this Neue Klasse, I made a bunch of videos on that on that design language here on the channel, and the thing is, I like the Neue Klasse design, because as we're gonna see that von Hooydonk says here is that this is the essentials of what a BMW is when it comes to design. And I kind of agree with that. I'm gonna let you know why in Photoshop. So the new design that we're going to show will be 100% BMW, maybe 110% BMW. Von Hooydonk said, because taking a leaf out of the Marcello Gandini's book, the overall design language is going to be cleaner than what you know from us today, but it is 100% recognizable as a BMW. And it has to be. Neue Klasse's importance is evident by BMW's marketing and messaging strategies at the present. Never before has a new model line generated such a waterfall of digital Bavarian ink. You'll find Neue Klasse teasers everywhere from BMW's social media to this very site. This also adds some pressure on BMW and the team, of course, because they themselves are teasing these images. So these images are coming from BMW's HQ themselves, because they want to stir up some debate and make have people like me and other YouTubers and journalists have them make videos about these cars to get the word out that BMW is changing. So this also adds some pressure. He says, we saw that at a very early stages of the project, that we were basically going to change everything about cars as we know them inside BMW, which is a pretty, substantial statement. So from every bit of technology to every bit of design, it will be very, very new. So he currently sits at the BMW's group design director, earning the mantle after Chris Bangle's departure from the position in 2009. When I think back on Chris Bangle's design, I remember we had a workshop with Chris Bangle in Italy, in SPD, when I was studying car design there. I think it was a 2-day workshop, maybe 1 day, I can't remember. It was a very interesting workshop. What he said in that workshop was, let's come up with a car design concept, and let's list all the things that every single car has. For example, symmetry. Every single car has 4 wheels. Every single car has windshields and stuff like that. And then let's slowly pick those away from the car and let's see what we come up with. It was a very creative project, and we came up. The class came up with some very, very cool projects. Some three-wheeled, asymmetrical vehicles and stuff like that. It was insane. And when I think back of Bangle's era of BMW, I sort of miss it a little bit. I don't think he got the credit he deserved for coming up with the flame surfacing that BMW had of the era with the 5 Series. And then, of course, the Z4, the second generation Z4. What a beautiful machine with the proper flame surfacing in the side and all over the body. And then you had the Gina concept as well that was a part of Chris Bangle's ideas. But now we're in a completely different era, which is, to me, feels like there is scrambling around in the design department of BMW. They don't know where they want to go, but it feels like with the Neue Klasse, they're starting to find their identity again, hopefully. So the old Neue Klasse cars was introduced in 1962 and ran for roughly a decade. Sales of those groundbreaking and, at the time, sophisticated sedans arguably saved BMW itself, allowing the firm to turn a profit and to pay back its shareholders for the first time in a decade. So back in the day, they were in some trouble, financial trouble. And these cars right here, the 1500 and the 2002, for example, they saved the company in the 60s. So Neue Klasse's success laid groundwork for BMW as we understand it today. It was a technology and design-driven revolution for the Bavarians. Neue Klasse debuted more than a few cornerstones of 20th century BMWs, including, for example, the M10 inline 4, McPherson strut suspension, and that special design identity for BMWs, which is the Hofmeister kink, of course. So the effort that was made, or let's say the exercise that we went through, was how can we bring out the very essence of the BMW brand while using fewer elements, fewer lines, fewer details, and I think we will manage that, says Van Hooydonk. That reduction in complexity, laying lines that are simple and low and angular, has always broadcasted futurism. There's a fine line here, though. The thing about today's car design in general, and design overall, architecture, product design, everything is becoming so minimalistic. I mean, it is... Look at the old phones, for example, from the early, I guess, when phones were invented. Just the beauty of these products, the small details of what went into the handle and the thing that held up the handle, and then you have the base for the phone, and now the phones look like this. I mean, it's just a black piece of brick. This is what phones look like today. This has happened with a bunch of different products and a bunch of different areas, architecture, as I said, and product design as well. So making it too minimalistic, you can't remove all the identity from the product. You need to still have the key components. What makes up the brand needs to be intact in these new Neue Klasse cars. And I have a feeling that they might pull it off. Maybe it's a little bit too minimalist for me, but you still have the key components intact. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. So the upcoming Neue Klasse cars won't borrow anything from the Zero designs explicitly. This one right here, the Stratos Zero, which to Van Hooydonk is one of the most beautiful cars ever made, but will perhaps benefit from a modern take of Bertone's reductionist philosophy that we see in this vehicle here. While some 3 Series designs offered small visual tweaks when a new generation was introduced, other generations leaped ahead a great deal. And this forthcoming Neue Klasse, Van Hooydonk said, will offer something entirely different. This one will be a big step, and it'll be such a step that it almost looks like we jumped one entire generation forward. That's how big of a change it's going to be. BMW, along with Hyundai, are the exceptions to an industry that falls to malaise, compartmentalizing its risk in low volume, low visibility models, but BMW is doing this now across the entire brand. So it's a very risky move to introduce a brand new design language like this very quickly across the entire lineup. Hopefully they pull it off. Whatever you think of the new 4 Series, for example, the gaping grille, the XM's challenging bloat, or the 5 Series slanted snorting snout, they are brave designs, and I have to give it to them. The 4 Series and the 3 Series, when they first came out with these big kidneys, personally, I was not a fan of it, but it has grown on me, I have to say that. And he says here 2 years ago when we launched the 4 Series, we had a lot of complaints about its grille, but now that is completely gone. The feedback and the sales of these cars have done really, really well. So I have to give it to them for that. They knew what they were doing. They were listening to their customers and made revisions, planning based on a customer that actually spent money on their cars. And that is how they came to this design. Now, going forward, if we talked about the front end of a BMW in a wider sense, Neue Klasse will come in, show some interesting new solutions where we are going to replace chrome accents with lights. I'm not sure if that is a good idea, because that means that when the car is on is where you're going to see the key graphics of the vehicle. And then when you turn it off, the lights turn off as well, removing these key graphics that are so important for specifically BMWs. I think people will see things that they will undeniably recognizable as a BMW, even though it's not like any BMW you've ever seen before. In case you missed it, my 11-hour online class in design sketching is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools such as a big pen and cheap print paper, this is something you want to check out. Over the years, I've taught thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. So with that said, let's jump into Photoshop here. Let me show you what I'm talking about when it comes to the old school, the golden era of BMW. I mean, this is, can you argue with this, that these are the best looking BMWs of all time? This era right here, where we have the E53 X5 right here, the first generation X5, which to me is the most beautiful one, because the facelifted one, if you look at that, the line here, this line going from the headlights into the grille in the first generation pre-facelift, it sits in one single line. In the facelift, the kidneys stick up all the way to this point, so they stick above the line of the headlights, which I don't think look as good as this one. So the 4.6 is my favorite X5, not the 4.8, because the 4.8 was the facelifted version with this not as attractive looking front end as we had in the E53, the first generation, which is this one that we're looking at right here. Just beautiful design. You can see, look at the front end here. Look at the front end of the E46, this specific one being the stunning M3 CSL, what a machine, and also the E39 M5, this is the F540 here, not the M5, 540 with the sport package right here, and the E38 7 Series. All of them, they have the same face. It's just small tweaks to the face and of course to the proportions, making up the entire lineup of this era of BMW. And this is what was so strong with BMW back in the day when it comes to the identity of the cars. You could instantly look at these and you knew that this was a BMW. I'm going to show you what happened today and the mess that BMW is in right now. Now, of course, we did have some outliers. For example, the Z4 and the Z8, which in my opinion, I mean, the Z8 to me is one of the top 3 most beautiful BMWs of all time, if not the most beautiful BMW of all time. I love this design, everything about it. Manual transmission, you got 400 horsepower from a V8. Designed by Henrik Fisker, by the way. He also designed the Aston Martin Vantage back in the day, the first generation. And you can see that he knows how to design cars. He just has some issues creating entire new car companies. Fisker didn't do that well the first time, not the second time around either. But when it comes to design, he definitely knows what he's doing. This is an absolutely stunning machine to me. Timeless design, built on the, inspired by the 507 from the 60s. Just a perfect modernization of that vehicle. Now looking at the new ones right here. And this is where it becomes interesting, right? Because if we looked at the front end of the 2000 models here, you can see that we have a red line and everything. But look at the new ones here. I mean, every single new vehicle the BMW has pushed out the last 5 years look completely different from the rest of the lineup. You don't have a red line here. We have the 2 Series up here with a very interesting design here. Angles to the headlights and grills as well. Some big intakes in the lower section. We have the iX. I mean, again, just a completely new face with very thin headlights that sit all the way up top here, and then dipping down into the ground are these big grills, and the side profile just has no consistency in it whatsoever. The most beautiful one is this one, of course, the last generation 5 Series before they introduced the new one. This was, for sale up until 2024, I do believe, when the new one came out. This was by far the most beautiful BMW had on sale at this time, up until the new 5 Series came out, which also ruined the design for me for 5 Series. Then we have the 2 Series here, completely different face. X3, also different face. i4 down here, and we have the M4 and the M3 here, which, again, in this case, yes, they do look pretty similar, but that's 2 models out of how many models in their lineup that actually has a connection to each other. So this is BMW's problem here. So what are they going to do? What do we do as a design team? If I were the boss of BMW design team, I would say, let's go back to our golden era. Let's check out the E38, the E53, E49, E46, and the E39. Let's take the key components of these cars, the key graphics, the key proportions. Let's just modernize them. Let's put them into new technology for the interior. I'm not a fan of the big iDrive panoramic screen that we're gonna get for the new Neue Klasse or the interiors in general of BMWs these days. The old ones are 100% better. But let's take the key components of these cars and let's put them into new vehicles. And that is what's going on with the Neue Klasse. You can see the Neue Klasse design here. Up top we have what is going to be the X3, I do believe it's called, and the 3 Series on the right side. And we also have this rolling lab, as they call it, the new M3 EV. In this case, I do think there's going to be an internal combustion engine as well. But what are the key components? So let's go back here. We have 2 main elements of the headlights. We have 2 kidneys in the front end, okay? We have a separation between the lower half graphics down here and the top half graphics by a bumper. We have these features in every single BMW. 2 light components, 2 grills, separation bumper, lower section graphics, X5 as well, 2 elements in the front end, and we have the kidneys in line with the headlights and a separation of the bumper, lower graphics down low. And of course, last but not least, the E46 similar here. 2 light elements in the front, kidneys separated right here in line with the headlights. So those are the key components we're going to take and modernize. And that is exactly what they've done here. Because we do have 2 key components of the headlights sitting in line with the grille right there, with a separation of a bumper and the lower graphics in the lower section. We have the same design here, but in this case we have a new take on this, because now we have the 2 components of the headlight unit that we have in the old cars being morphed in with the grille elements right here. But we still have a separation of the grille. I would not call this a clear separation of the top half graphics and the lower half graphics, but I do think this is going to change in the production version. It's going to have a more clear separation here. The proportions look great here as well. We have the Hofmeister kink intact right here, as you can see in the greenhouse. And the proportions overall, not a huge fan of these grills, by the way, but instead of having a trim piece going around the grills here, now we're going to have illuminated grills. So it's going to be very hard to see the grill outlines of these vehicles when they're parked and the light is off. And that is something that I'm not sure is going to really work for the production versions. And then here you can see I do think this is more close to the production version than the concept, Neue Klasse sedan concept that we have up here. You can see that in this case we do have more of a separation of the top half graphics up top and the lower half down low, with this bumper in the middle, and we still have the 2 key components, light elements in the front end and the grille as well, with these light settings that we have for the internal pieces. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see how BMW is going to solve this issue. And I'm really looking forward to see these Neue Klasse. We've seen so many concept and spy photos, camouflaged images of these cars, that when they actually come out with the production version, I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad. In my opinion, I have to see the production versions first to see what BMW is thinking to turn these concepts into production. So it's a very interesting time ahead for BMW, specifically when it comes to design. And I really hope they solve this issue with this mess when it comes to the design. Because BMW, to me, when I grew up, it was, it was a legendary brand, and I think they lost that in the recent years, unfortunately, with this, different faces that we have for every single model. So moving forward in 2025, this year, it's going to be cool to see what they actually come out with in production version.